Hey guys, Christo Garcia, my swing evolution. I'm going to be taking you through some driver work at the end of a practice session here. I'm going to talk about some of the drills that I work on, and hopefully these will be some great clues as to what you can work on that'll help you with your golf swing. As always, please give us a like, leave a comment, and subscribe if you like this type of content. And if you'd like to learn more about how I swing a golf club, please visit myswingevolution.com, where I've got several instructional videos, everything from swinging like Hogan to picking up over 60 yards like I did with my driving evolution. So let's dig into this driver practice session here. So if you're like me, you've probably been holed up for a couple of months. I haven't hit many golf balls in quite a long time. This is the longest break I've had in over 10 years. But what you see right here is I'm trying to get my right hip through the shot. Okay. Now what I'm doing is I'm grabbing onto my right hip with my left hand because I want to press up and through my left leg and pull my left shoulder back, which is then going to pull my right hip through. So here I have my feet slightly wider than shoulder width, and I'm playing the ball off of my left heel. So that looked like a pretty smooth swing. Now right here, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get my right elbow under. By keeping my right elbow under, I'm less likely to flip the club over and hit a snap hook, which is something that, just like Ben Hogan, I tend to fight a hook too. So by keeping that right elbow under, what that does is it helps me to maintain my lateral side bend. And what I'm trying to do is, I've been hitting a draw lately, but it can turn over into a pretty big hook. So I'm trying to work back towards a straight ball or fade. Now I want to show this right here. This little takeaway move that I did right here. You see some pros do this where they do this little practice. I'm keeping my rear elbow, my right elbow above my left. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing is I'm trying to keep my upper left arm connected to my chest. So that's my little check move. Probably wouldn't be a bad idea to work this into my pre-shot routine a la Mike Weir. So that worked out pretty well. Okay, so here I'm trying to pick the ball up. I want to feel like I'm picking it up like a baseball bat. Right elbow higher than my left once again. And then I'm going to exaggerate my right elbow under. So it's kind of the next phase after doing the little takeaway move where I keep my right elbow over my left. During the transition, I want them to switch places. That's going to take me from lateral side bend to my left into lateral side bend on my right. That's why the transition is so key in the golf swing. You're actually quickly going from being bent over to your left side to bent over to your right side. So let's watch this one more time, what I'm doing here, what I'm trying to feel. So right elbow under the left. The longer I can keep that right elbow under and bent, the longer the club face is going to stay square. That's why, you see Ben Hogan and Lee Trevino at Impact, great ball strikers who pound the ball straight and long. They have a lot of right arm bend as they get into impact. And the reason why this is valuable is they've got a lot of right arm left to give. And as long when the two arms straighten, that's when you have a ton of club face rotation. So they were able to save that club face rotation until the ball is long gone. This swing right here, I think that it's worth noting. Let's take a look at my left leg. What I want to do is I'm pressing up out of this lead leg to try and pull my left shoulder back. And this is a real tricky space because Tiger Woods talked about snapping his left knee to get extra power. If I do this too soon, it can make my arms straighten too quickly. Here I was able to, use it to hit a ball pretty solid, but that's essentially what I was doing on that swing. So here's a 3/4 front shot. Take a look at how my swing is from this angle. That looked pretty good. So once again, what I'm trying to do is I'm going to try and keep my right elbow above my left. One piece takeaway to here. Then I'm going to hinge and lift my arms to about here. This is where my transition begins as my hip starts to go left, and that's going to flatten out the shaft. And what I want to do here is not use my hands. I'm not going to try and hit the golf ball with my hands. I'm going to let my arms follow my body. And the results were pretty good. Here I'm trying to fish out a couple of the better golf balls. A lot of these golf balls are pretty beat up. And there's nothing worse than putting a perfect swing on a golf ball and watch it do a knuckleball or, just kind of take a screwy flight where it's curving in one direction then twists and curves the other direction. So as I'm measuring myself out to the ball here, I actually want to find a very natural position for my left hand, left arm, all the way up to my shoulder. I want to be measured out to the ball properly. So as I make my golf swing, the golf club is going to basically rise and then slot around my body as I turn. All right, so let's take a look at some swings from down the line. They actually took the net down at the end of the driving range here at Eaton Canyon. I've been here for 9 years. And the thing that's kind of funny is they took the net down because the balls just basically fly into the mountain and roll back down to the bottom. So it's easier than trying to deal with the net. So here I can see that I'm trying to work with a slightly open club face. That last drive was a little bit to the left. Let's take a look at that real quick. So I turn that over. That's the ball I've been tending to hit lately, but it's a little bit, sometimes I just hook it too much. So I'm trying to work back, as I said, towards a straight ball or even a cut shot. The one thing I'd really like to have is a really firm swing that I can put on the ball, and I want to be able to rely on it flying straight or curving to the right. So that one certainly worked out pretty well. That was just what the doctor ordered. My target is that tree in the background. That's usually what I'm trying to aim at in these videos. My miss lately has been a pull. So here I'm going through the action of the right elbow under. I want to get that feeling and not get lazy. It requires me to get into lateral side bend, which I don't have a lot of lateral side bend. At least not like most professionals. You know, everybody's body's built a little bit different. The most extreme example I use lately is Joaquin Neiman, but even Dustin Johnson and these other guys, they have tons of lateral side bend. And the more lateral side bend that you have, the more you're going to be able to open up your hips through impact. Now, one of the most important things that I'm working on in these swings is, above all, tempo. There's technical things, but what I want to have is a smooth rhythm, nice smooth tempo. So there's the fade that I'm looking for. So I need to have enough speed and enough power that, you know, I don't want to have a glancing blow. That's the one thing about a cut shot is, you know, you get too cute with it and you'll just flare it out to the right. So that's pretty much my normal shot, you know, straight with a little bit of a draw. But once again, I'm trying to be careful to not get too much of that into my swing. That ball's fine. I, again, caught that just a hair thin. Here I'm checking my pelvis, making sure it's slightly, like, not anterior pelvic tilt. Let me show you this again. So last summer, I had gotten into a habit of kind of like poking my rear out too much. So here I'm tucking my hips under just a touch. And so this is pretty much my standard ball flight for a good drive. I basically, and it's different with this driver. I tend to hit more of a draw with this particular driver, the GS53, whereas I usually always hit a fade with my grenade driver I used to have. But I find this curious. I wanted to point something out here. A lot of people that want to swing like Mr. Hogan, they have a tendency to swing too flat. I'm actually trying to have a flying right elbow and take my hands very high. Okay, right elbow over my left, one piece takeaway, the club outside my hands. Very important. So my first check is very good, left arm still connected. Now I'm going to raise my arms. I'm going to try and lift them high. I want to have a nice wide arc. My right elbow is off of my body. You know, I'm not super flexible in my rotation, but by proper technique, I'm able to get that left shoulder underneath my chin, which is important. So right here, like for me, this is a pretty high feeling backswing. Like, as far as I can tell, it feels like I'm Jack Nicklaus. But it just goes to show you how feel is, you know, some people say not real. But I don't know what you're going to use besides feel. You have to use your feel to some degree, right? But I'm feeling as if I'm lifting the club really high. And what that's going to do is I'm trying to keep my shoulder plane a little bit steeper. Here my shoulder plane looks pretty good. And then what I have to do in transition is switch sides and get into lateral side bend on the other side. And so the longer I can stay in lateral side bend, the more right arm bend I'm going to have. And the more right arm bend I have, the longer the club face is going to stay square. So that's me working on my driver swings. So make sure you go to myswingevolution.com, sign up for my newsletter. I give out weekly tips that you don't see on my channel and also some fitness advice every Saturday. And I hope you hit them long and hit them straight. used to have a pretty ugly golf swing, and now I've got a really good golf swing. I got rid of my slice, picked up 50 yards, cut 10 strokes off my game, and I've even been on the Golf Channel. If you want to find out how, go to myswingevolution.com.